Hello my fellow Rome 2 players, Zaript here, and today I want to speak about something you already know, which is Nomadic Tribes DLC, which features Massagetae, Roxolani and Royal Scythia. We will speak about them briefly, but first of all, if for some reason you missed it, this is what you need to know, is the fact that this DLC would be free if you install it before October 29th. So you still have 2 days after this video, but obviously the whole Total War circle was speaking about this. There were a lot of videos made. I'll actually link them in the description because Heir of Carthage, Prussian Prince, Indie Pride and Madness, Agony Red, they did a lot of playtesting, unit discussion on these factions. So check that videos out, those videos out. I will put them in a description because it will give you a lot of different perspectives. Yes, this DLC would be free for you if you install it now. Then it will cost some money. Okay, how do you install it? And this actually could be important. You either follow this link, or, which is safer, you go through Steam, go through your library, pick ROM 2, pick DLC, and install it here. Why is this important? Because well, there are already reports of phishing where someone sent you a link asking you if you want to install free DLC or not, and that link asks you to enter your Steam info, which you should never do. So keep it in mind. Anyway, let's take a brief look at factions. I didn't playtest them much. I only played like 1 game with each faction. That's because I had insanely messy week. My brother had knee surgery this week, so the whole week I pretty much uploaded 1 video. Like, I couldn't care less about YouTube when my brother is, I wouldn't say in trouble. It all went well, so he will be running again in no time, but still I was mostly focused on that affair. Anyway, back to factions. Massagetae, armor-based faction. They have a decent Saka cataphracts, Saka armored lances, so 90 armor for both of them. Then kinda typical Fall 3 faction, weaker shock cavalry. Some decent bow cavalry. Interesting thing to notice, they all have heavy shot. And another interesting thing to notice, none of them actually have whistling arrows. And that's important, we will talk about it later. Now we go for Roxolani. Not as heavy in the shock cavalry department, but now have melee cavalry options. And a bit less bow cavalry options, but they still the same. They have heavy shot instead of whistling arrows. Now let's go for Royal Scythia. And as we can see, we have 1 good melee cavalry solution. Abysmal noble like shock cavalry choice, but these steppe and noble lancers, they're still decent from what I can tell. They like I would say companion cavalry on attacking stats. Yeah, I think they can go as companion cavalry. Nice variety of different skirmishing cavalry choices. Most notably these Scythian Royal Skirmishes with 40 missile damage. But only 9 ammunition, so I'm not confident how to use these guys. Anyway, sorry guys. First thing to notice about these factions, from aside from the fact they have no infantry, is that they're extremely predictable, right? They don't have infantry, they can only rely on cavalry, and whenever you see someone picking such a faction, you just know what he will bring. There is not much choice he has. And that really limits these factions. And let's compare to cavalry-based factions that we already had, to Parthia. These Parthian swordsmen and mercenary hoplites, they're not good, but they're just decent for the price. So already some foot option, just in case. But more importantly, let's go here. Elephants and camel spearmen. These are 2 units, or rather camel archers, even better, combined with whistling shot, combined with fire arrows, camels, elephants, and royal cataphracts, these 3 units can pretty much guarantee you that you win cavalry fight. You don't even have to kill enemy cavalry. With a good charge, by having camel archers nearby, by having elephants nearby, just by stacking these moral penalties, you will ensure you routed enemy cavalry in most cases. Egypt can do this, the same thing. So Parthia and Egypt. Now let's take a look at these nomads. Can they do it? No. They even more limited than Parthia in tools. They just like, as I said about this heavy shot, they don't even have whistling arrows. So for moral damage, you need to rely on a flaming shot. That's a bad thing about these factions. They are not, in 1v1, I don't really see them doing very well. Another interesting thing to notice, they have resistance to cold. But most winter maps, like all winter maps, are forest based. Even Actudoron now changed to have mostly forest. So when you want to use these factions, you actually want to use them on a desert. But only Parthia does actually have resistance to heat. So I don't really see the place for these factions on multiplayer in 1v1. There could be a good support in 2v2. They could be interesting choice in single player, and I think in single player they have some mercenary infantry, but in multiplayer I just don't see them being too strong. I just don't see. How do you use them? First of all, always make sure at the beginning of the game, like, that you enabled heavy shot. It's like, and when you pick a unit, make sure, look, for example, these royal horse archers, they don't have heavy shot, so you don't pick them. So you want to pick the guys with heavy shot, because heavy shot decreases your accuracy and range. You get 100 range, but it actually kills. That's one thing to remember. Second thing to remember, you only have 70 men in a unit, and you only have 15 ammunition. So you're not gonna kill enemy army using your bow archers. It's just not gonna happen. So what do you have to do? You make sure you control enemy cavalry, and then you use your bow cavalry to shoot at enemy infantry until it gets to like from 70 to 90 men. You don't kill it fully, right? But because the more you kill, the less men in a unit, the less meat there are, and more arrows of your archers miss. So you want to soften up all of his units and then use shock cavalry to kill them. That's very important because if you will try to kill units, like if you're shooting at units that is like 30 men, you're really wasting arrows because you can shatter that unit in one good charge of your Psychic Cataphract. So be careful about that. Keep it in mind. Always use heavy shot. And I guess that's it. But last advice I can give you, like, just pick Parthia. Really, just pick Parthia. I don't see any reason to pick any of these guys for just for fun. Really, just for fun. And as you noticed, for the whole recording, I'm not saying that it's a cheap strategy to have only cavalry and skirmishing cavalry, because I honestly believe it's fairly balanced. It's annoying to deal with, yes, but if you know what's coming at you, you can deal with it. And you really know what's coming at you in this case. The only problem I see, imagine your enemy picked, let's say, Massagetae, right? So you're expecting heavy cataphracts and bow cavalry play, right? So you're picking something of your own, let's say, I don't know, Macedon, and you kind of picking a lot of cavalry. You don't want melee cavalry. You're taking some companion cav, you're taking some Thessalian, some Sarissa, You want some Citizen Cavalry just in case, and you bring build, and last second your opponent just switches to, let's say, Sparta, and go take pike build. That's a problem of a game right now, that people sometimes use this load setup button to just switch build in a last second. So I believe there should be some sort of a faction lock period, like first 10 seconds in a lobby should lock your faction. So then you can just pick an army knowing exactly what you will be facing. Overall, I found it fun to play these factions, but it's just not my style. I prefer something with a bit more stability on the ground. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you more on the next week. Bye bye.